12-foot Alien Empress declared humans too weak for battle, until one pinned her in combat. The arena's walls shimmered with the heat of twin suns, their light glinting off steel pillars carved with alien runes. Across the sands, thousands of voices roared in a chorus that shook the air. This was no simple gathering. It was the great trial of dominion, where species proved their worth to the Empress of the Kael'thar. She stood above them all. The Alien Empress, 12 feet tall and armored in plates of living chitin, surveyed the arena with golden slit-pupil eyes. Her hair, braided with obsidian metal strands, whipped in the wind as she raised her clawed hand. The crowd silenced instantly. "Humans," she declared, her voice booming like thunder, "have long hidden behind their fragile shells and clever machines. Without technology you are brittle glass. You cannot fight with strength alone. Today I prove it." At her signal, a gate screeched open. From its shadows stepped a single human, Captain Elias Renn, stripped of his weapons, clothed only in simple combat garb. His eyes flicked to the towering figure above, then to the sea of alien faces hungry for his failure. He swallowed once, but his gaze hardened. The beginning of the trial. The Empress leapt down into the arena herself. Her landing shook the ground, sending dust spiraling into the air. Gasps rippled across the crowd, for it was rare that she fought directly. Her kind were considered divine rulers, not warriors of sport. Yet here she was, lowering her crown of bone, towering above Elias like a predator staring at prey. "You will not last a minute," she hissed, flexing her taloned fingers. "When you fall, all humanity shall be branded as cowards." Elias didn't answer. He spread his feet, rolled his shoulders, and steadied his breath. The signal gong rang. She moved first, faster than a creature her size had any right to. Her claw swept across the air, a strike that could shear steel. Elias ducked, rolling under the blow, his palms skidding against the hot sand. He came up behind her, striking with his fist at the base of her spine. The impact echoed but barely staggered her. She laughed, whirling around. "Pathetic." Her tail lashed like a whip, catching him across the chest and sending him flying into a pillar. The crowd roared approval, chanting her name in rhythmic stomps. Elias coughed, spitting blood, but pushed himself back to his feet. "You're strong," he said hoarsely. "But strength isn't everything." Clash of two worlds. The Empress advanced again, every step shaking the ground. She slammed her claw downward, aiming to crush his skull. Elias sidestepped, seizing her wrist with both hands. To the crowd, it looked laughable, a man holding the limb of a giant. But Elias didn't try to overpower her raw force. He shifted, pulling at her elbow joint with a quick pivot, using leverage instead of strength. Her arm twisted with a pop, and for the first time the Empress staggered. The crowd gasped. Snarling, she struck again, this time with blinding speed. Elias ducked, dodged, rolled, always just inches from death. He used the arena itself, pillars, stones, even the slope of the sand to redirect her weight. Where she relied on raw power, he relied on technique born of countless battles where one mistake meant death. But the fight dragged on. His body grew heavy, breath ragged. Sweat and blood mixed down his arms. She was tireless, each strike carrying the force of a mountain. Finally, she cornered him against a wall. Her massive claw speared forward. Elias dropped flat to the ground at the last instant, and her talons embedded into stone. In that heartbeat of opening, Elias sprang upward, wrapping his arm around her massive neck. The arena fell silent. He locked his legs around her shoulder, tightening the chokehold with everything he had. She thrashed violently, slamming him into the wall, trying to dislodge the insect clinging to her. But his grip was iron, honed by desperation and will. Her golden eyes widened as air struggled through her throat. The turning point. The Empress roared, her voice breaking the silence. She spun, her strength enough to break the stone pillars themselves, but Elias clung tighter, pressing until her movements slowed. Then, with a final heave, he wrenched her to the ground. The sand trembled as the 12-foot ruler slammed onto her back. And there, beneath the blazing suns, a human pinned the Alien Empress. The arena was frozen in disbelief. Her claws scraped the sand, but she no longer rose. Her chest heaved, pride and rage burning in her eyes as she stared up at the fragile being who had bested her. "You," she rasped, her voice weaker now. "How?" Elias released her, stumbling back to his feet, chest heaving. "Strength isn't just muscle," he said, voice steady despite exhaustion. "It's will. It's refusing to fall, even when everything says you should." The ending. Silence stretched for a long moment. Then, slowly, the Empress rose to her knees. Instead of attacking, she bowed her head. "Humanity," she said, her words carrying across the entire arena, "is not weak." The crowd erupted, not in anger but in awe. The chants shifted, from her name to his. Elias swayed on his feet, battered and bloodied, but unbroken. The Empress stood beside him, towering yet no longer scornful. She raised his arm with one massive clawed hand, presenting him to the thousands watching. "For the first time in our history," she declared, "a human has shown the strength of an empire." Elias met her gaze, and for an instant, there was no conqueror and no subject, only two warriors who had tested each other to the brink. And in that moment, humanity's place among the stars was secured. Extended ending. The arena hung in silence, every alien eye fixed on the fallen Empress and the battered human who stood above her. Dust drifted in the sunlight like fragments of gold, and Elias's ragged breaths echoed louder than the cheers that had roared only moments before. The Empress stirred, her massive frame rising slowly from the sand. The crowd braced for her wrath, expecting punishment, but instead she lowered to one knee, her clawed hand pressed against her chest. The gesture rippled through the Kael'thar audience like a thunderclap. Submission, respect, honor. Her golden eyes met his, not with fury, but with something far heavier. "I declared your kind too weak for war," she said, her voice carrying to the farthest pillars of the Colosseum. "Yet here stands one who shattered my certainty. You fought not with size nor with raw might, but with a spirit that refused to yield. That is strength greater than steel." The crowd erupted again, this time not for her alone, but for him. Voices that once mocked humanity now chanted his name, shaking the foundations of the arena. Elias stood swaying, bloodied, exhausted, but unbowed. The Empress rose to her full, towering height. With deliberate ceremony, she lifted his arm high above his head. "From this day," she proclaimed, "humanity shall not be called fragile. Humanity shall not be dismissed. You are warriors worthy of respect." Elias's vision blurred from exhaustion, but a smile tugged at his lips. He had not fought just for survival, but for his people's place among the stars. And in that moment, as alien and human voices blended together in thunderous unity, he knew the universe had changed. The Empress bowed her head once more. "Human, you are no longer prey.